Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining me today on Stocks for Breakfast. We have a bunch of new stock picks to talk about today. As we said, we're going to talk about energy stocks today. We're going to do a deep dive into this Santa Claus rally and whether or not right now is the right time to be buying stocks. Impressive day yesterday. We're going to get into the headlines from last week and how that translated into this week. We're also going to talk about the difference between having an opinion and having a bias, and how those two are dramatically different, even though they sound the same. We have a pretty big list of stocks that we're going to talk about today. We're going to break it down. I'm going to see if you guys have anything that you want to talk about today as far as stock picks. We'll head that towards the end of the call, because I want to make sure that I have a big list of stuff in my game plan. So I want to make sure we get to that first. We're also going to go over a sector rotation and how we worked our way through that list and how it's setting up some of the best ideas for today. But we're also going to talk about whether or not the fact that everything is green on that sector rotation sheet, does that mean that we're a little bit overheated and now is the time to take some profits, maybe move up a trailing stop? We're also going to talk about the bullish echo again today and the difference between the bullish echo and it's obvious, but not right now. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. So I just want to thank everybody to today's video. Stick around, be back in just 1 second. Okay, so as with everything we discuss on these videos, everything is for educational purposes. It's up to you to make that final decision. I just want to let you know how grateful I am in so many ways that you're here with me right now. I know we talk about stock picks, which stocks to buy every day. In this video, we're also going to talk about which stocks to buy. But I just wanted you to know I'm feeling a lot of gratitude this morning, last night, and so far last week and this week. If you don't happen to know, every single week in our boot camp, we have 2 coaching calls. One Monday, one Wednesday, and then we have a Sunday night review session. We kind of switched things up a little bit the last couple of weeks where we're having review sessions about end of year reflection on what worked for buying stocks this year and what absolutely positively did not work this year. So I want to share probably the single biggest lesson that has been universal. Which is do not pick bottoms and do not blow your stop loss. The thought process behind understanding those 2 simple concepts is life-changing, especially if you're really taking your trading seriously and you want to start to see your account grow, because you are the reason that you're making money. The math, it's just basic math. It doesn't make sense to hold on to something that's not working and add more to something that's not working when you can just get out of the position and look for another opportunity. But here's the biggest thing that I want to talk about last night. And I'm very transparent in the calls that we had last night, that my biggest mistake, and again, I added to the conversation last night, my biggest mistake 21 years ago when I first started trading was I would tend to try and call tops, where the market would be rallying and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to short this thing. I'll get the top. I'll get the perfect spot and I'll have like the tippy top. And when it falls down, I'll make all that money. The problem is when you do that in bullish order flow, things just keep drifting higher or going higher. And at the end of the day, you celebrate that you managed risk while something was going in the opposite direction and you feel a sense of accomplishment. And I know a lot of people, feel that when they're trying to buy stocks that are on the way down. We see that with a lot of new members who come into the boot camp. And I'm like, what are you looking at? Some of these stocks are getting crushed and going down for a long period of time, and they're looking to pick a bottom. And you have this vision of if you get it, everything's awesome. And you're proud of yourself that you didn't lose too much money because they're going in the opposite direction. But here's the biggest thing that we took out of last night. And this is definitely every day we try and give you something to write down. Is it's one thing to be proud of yourself that you managed risk in what was probably not a great idea in the first place. But this is the big thing, okay? You don't realize that while you are sitting in that position, praying that the thing turns around or hoping that a reversal of the order flow ends up happening, we focus on the dollar amount that we're not losing. But what we should be focusing on, what advanced traders do, and this came out in a big way in last night's coaching call, is number one, your capital should be working. It should be working on a good idea, not one that you're hoping works. So that's the first part. The second part is the mental aspect of sitting there and praying that the trade turns around instead of getting out of the position when if you should have been in it in the first place. The mental aspect of not waiting for something to happen, waiting for something to reverse, not feeling helpless in the position because you're fighting the obvious order flow, is getting your head back on straight and going and actually making the money in a good idea, as opposed to be sitting in one that you hope turns around. So I know that's a mouthful, but I really want to contribute to these calls in a way that I'm also helping coach you, even though we're doing it here. I want to give you some of the ideas heading into the end of December, into next year. I'm not really a big resolution person, but I am really big on learning from mistakes and correcting those mistakes immediately so that when you move forward, you're taking much more purposeful action. So the two things are: do not bottom fish, do not top fish. And the second part is respect your risk. And then you'll be around long enough to learn how to manage more on your winning trades. But the second part of that is the mental aspect of being in a bad position, whether it's a blown stop loss or picking a top or a bottom. You're no longer in control of the outcome, and your mind is just messed up because you're sitting in a position that you know in your heart of hearts is not really what you should have done in the first place. So it's that mental aspect of shifting back towards, all right, take the loss, get out of the trade, scale back, get out, stop trying to pick a bottom, stop trying to pick a top, and just spot where it's obvious. So when we're talking about spotting where it's obvious, that's going to translate into what we're going to be looking at right now, which is this. So obviously yesterday we spent some time talking about the industrial stocks. We talked about which stocks on the industrial side of things were rallying, and out of nowhere, the energy stocks, which probably about 4 or 5 months ago, we'll take a look at those charts. The energy stocks, which are really, really easy to read the order flow when they're in play, they kind of woke up yesterday in a big way. So we're talking about Chevron today, FANG, CPE. We're going to go through a list of those. We're going to go through a list of technology stocks to buy. We've been in a swing trade in Apple since 170. I'll show you that in our Discord channel, just to give you an idea. Let me actually pull that up for you. Actually, no, we'll pull it up when we get to the idea. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to snapshot this. First of all, actually, we have a couple of people from our coaching call. Allison Mulcahy, unbelievably good questions last night and reflection. You really, really got into it as far as what you learned from this year. Big caps, big exclamation points. I just want to call you out publicly. Your contribution to last night's call on the year-end reflection was just absolutely amazing. I love it when somebody can admit that there's stuff to learn, admit that what you were doing wasn't working, and then be so fired up to start implementing the right path, or getting rid of what's not working and working more on what is working. Alice, I just wanted to call you out publicly on that. It was awesome. Your contribution last night and your post were just fantastic. All right. So we all talked about coming into today. We're going to take a look at the energy stocks. I want to work our way over to that. But before we do that, there's a very big thing I want to talk about. We mentioned at the beginning of the call, having a opinion versus having a bias. And right now, Solomon in the video right now, he's got a bias on how much he'd like to be eating right now. That's all he does is eat. Having an opinion is very hard to change. And a lot of people who came into this week were reading all of the headlines about the variant. And we talked about it yesterday. We're at all-time highs. We didn't have an opinion on the fact that bad news, resistance, we're definitely going down today. We said we're going to wait for the market open, and then we're going to see if we stay above the Monday opening price. And if we do, then we're going to look for long opportunities. If we rally up, take out new all-time highs, and can't hold the opening price, then we'll shift over into moving up, trailing stop losses, maybe even look for day trades, maybe even look for swing trade shorts in stocks that were already weak. So we had two different scenarios heading into the day based on the bias of the most recent order flow and resistance, and we kind of ignored the headlines. But we had a lot of new members come into the community, even here on social media, talk about how bad the variant headlines were over the weekend. And they were. I mean, let's not, I'm not making light of this situation, but we're here to talk about trading and which stocks we're buying. And immediately out of the gate yesterday, it was very clear we were not getting selling yesterday. It was really just a question of where we were rotating to find the best ideas as close to the optimal entry point as possible. So the lesson that I want to give you from yesterday heading into today and this week is I'm absolutely somebody who will say, do the homework, read as much as you can, read the headlines, read the Wall Street Journal, read Investor's Business Daily, read Market Watch, read Seeking Alpha, read all of those, right? But at the end of the day, it comes down to you need to do your own game planning. And that's the only way to have massive conviction in your ideas. You will stop hesitating. You will hold good trades longer. You'll know exactly when trades are not working out because you did the work. Relying on headlines to give you an opinion of what's going to happen in the market versus reading the order flow and reading the tape is going to be very challenging for you, because reading the headlines could be a 21-year-old kid who knows nothing about the markets, just writing something that they did some research online. So I can't stress this enough. Do your homework, gather as much information as possible, but it really comes down to what's going on in price action. That is something I'm so proud of our community yesterday, both on the day trading side and swing trading side of things inside the bootcamp and in the order flow program, because throughout the entire day, we were having conversations about, there was a good chance it was going to roll over today, but it didn't. So instead of looking and doing that mistake that we talked about at the beginning of today's call and saying it's overbought, it needs to roll over, I'm putting on short sales, we just kept looking for spots to buy, and we got long on quite a few stocks yesterday, and quite honestly, all day. So I just want, again, these are some of these are really big lessons for end of year to take into 2022 to really start to put yourself in charge of the outcome, but also stuff to put in charge of right now, which kind of leads us into, we talked about technology stocks. Again, take a snapshot of this so you can get an idea of the ideas for today. You can see that everything is now green, and this is over the last 5 days worth of trading. Healthcare worked its way down the list. Consumer defensive worked its way down the list, also known as consumer staples sometimes. So we're starting to work our way back up the list into different areas. Now, how does that translate into new ideas? Well, the list of top stocks, you can see now technology is still dominating the list, right? We are not seeing energy stocks in here in a big way, Devon Energy, and that's about it. So there's two things I want to bring to the table here, two things I want to point out. If you're doing and following us on a daily basis with the sector rotation, the way we're doing it every day, we're now noticing that the energy stocks perked up before they're starting to hit the headlines. So another reason that not reading the headlines or not letting the headlines give you an opinion is very important, because we're spotting it already in the order flow and the tape prior to when you're going to read it next week, where you're going to read a headline 5 days from now. This energy stocks perk up. Let's start looking at energy stocks. We're already starting to look at them today on December 28th. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you do a little bit of a deep dive into this list of stocks that meet the perfect criteria, you'll notice, as we said, technology, a little bit of basic material. If you remember yesterday, we talked about Newmont. We talked about Alcoa and a couple of other stocks, but I want to point out this here, which is the technology stocks, okay? Here's the big lesson in that alone. Now, this is a list of stocks. These aren't necessarily the trades I'm exactly taking today. These trades match the perfect criteria. Then we have to go and see where they are from the optimal entry. Here's the big thing, okay? And this doesn't matter if you're day trading or if you're swing trading. We get the question all the time, how do I make more on my winning trades? And it's a great question. How do I make more when I got the big whale on the hook and I get out too soon? What am I missing to hold those good trades longer? That is what you're missing. You're not going one level deeper into saying, is there a lot of money doing the same thing somewhere at the same time? Okay. So in this case here, we're looking at technology, which is the broader sector. So we're okay. We're good. We're looking at technology. There's a lot of technology stocks that are seeing bullish order flow. Then you go a step further and you go into which industry groups in the technology sector can I make the biggest list of that right now are showing bullish order flow? So then you take that list of stocks and you put them into your trading platform. So let's just say, for argument's sake, if we go back into this list, you'll see that right now, semiconductors, right? Semiconductors have something going on, semiconductors. Then you break it down a little bit more, maybe electronics, maybe hardware, but semiconductors are dominating the list. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different semiconductor stocks right now, okay? Success leaves clues. We get a lot of people in our community that talk about, is it really that easy? Is that really all we need to look at? Now, I tell my wife all the time, when she says something's easy, I said, yeah, that's because you've been doing it for 20 years. That's the stage that you want to get to as a trader, where, like myself, somebody with a little bit more experience, a lot of this stuff seems natural, but we all had to go through this and kind of go through all the different ways of potentially trading to get to the point where we settle on the fact that when you're spotting obvious order flow by the deep pockets that move stocks up and down, that's where we should be following. That's where we should be looking. That makes sense, doesn't it? If that's who is pushing stocks around and they're allocating real money, and we're seeing it happen from one day to the next, and then we're tracking it again from 1 week to the next. Again, energy stocks today is the first time that they perked up in a way. So we're going to look at them for short-term active trades right now. We're going to watch them from 1 week to the next. Semiconductor stocks have been on fire. The only question we have right now is if we take that big list and put them in the list and watch them during the day and during the week. Again, it doesn't matter if it's day trading or swing trading. The process is the same. Are they overbought? Now, we don't like to use the word overbought. The way that I'm teaching everybody, both here and in the boot camp, is instead of saying overbought, I'm bringing you back down to optimal entry. So we don't say overbought because I don't want you to think it can't keep going. What I do want you to think of is risk reward from the current price based on what it normally does. Now we're kind of retraining your eye to say, okay, it's gone up a lot over the last 5 to 7 days. What are the odds of follow through? And am I close to the beginning of the normal move, or am I already 80% into what it normally does? So we just walk through the steps that professional traders, and hopefully you're striving to do that, getting to the point where you have this process in place where you're no longer guessing. It's no longer overwhelming. It's simply following the process every single day. And we talked about last night, if you've read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, he said one of the most profound things I've ever heard is, he said, we don't rise to our goals, we fall to the level of our process. And that's a pretty powerful statement, because it also implies that you're in charge of the process. So everybody's got the same goal of winning an Olympic medal, making 6 or 7 figures as a trader. It's not the goal itself that's going to get you there. It's the process that you have in place that you repeat and iterate to keep improving, that big feedback loop of success. It's that process that will ultimately get to where you are. And I just gave you a part of the process, from order flow in the market to drilling it down to which sectors are on fire right now, to drilling it down to which industry groups within those sectors, taking those stocks and putting them in your watch list. Again, doesn't matter if it's a day trade or a swing trade, and then paying attention to which of those stocks are closest to the optimal entry. So now we have technology stocks at the top of the list. They're a little bit, we'll take a look at Apple. We've actually got a swing trade on in Apple. I'll actually show you that right now. Let me actually pull that up for you just to give you an idea of how we put the trades on. So this is our Discord channel and our swing trade. You can see the ideas. We shifted Apple into the profit maximizer, but the entry that we have in Apple is from here, which you can see is December 20th at 170 buy stop. We had a 177.50 initial profit target. And you can see how we work the charts and give the exact entries and exits from the start of the trade. But if we move our way over now into Apple and we take a look at where it is from the optimal entry, which is here, this day we bought this pullback, and where it is now. So Apple, as of right now, would be more of a bullish echo than it would be a new swing trade. So if you can visualize right now this trade in Apple, that we bought it on the pullback, I guess about 7 days ago, whatever it was, and now it's rallied up into all-time highs. We are pretty far from the optimal entry based on what the stock normally does. So now we've shifted from new entry in this technology stock, which is at the top of the list, to moving up our, as Rex pointed out here, moving up our profit maximizer on the trade, which is the process. Again, we're sticking to the word process. Process is where it becomes repeatable. We're moving up shifting from entries to adding to the position to profit maximizer, system, right? The whole process as you work your way across to now we're not looking to initiate a new swing trade in Apple today. We're now looking to protect our profits and maximize them on the way up. Energy stocks are a little bit different right now, and we specifically talked about Chevron. Chevron actually now just broke out of a level that it hasn't been able to get through for a while. So very similar to the market that we looked at today. And again, I just want to point out how do we do all this? First, we're watching it every day, but then we run our scans at the end of the day. You see technology was number one, remains number one, and now energy has worked its way back up the list. So now that means now we shift over and do a little bit of more game planning, scanning, again, process leading into now we're going to pay attention to which energy stocks should be in our game plan today. Now, because we have not been trading them recently, I'll probably look to day trade them today. And then as the week unfolds, I will then consider new swing trades if they have not gone too far over the last 3 to 7 days. So I want to give you a list right now of energy stocks that I'm going to be watching this week and over the next 2 weeks to see if we have longer term order flow kicking in so that we can start to build a little bit longer term positions. And John, I actually am going to talk about, we actually talked about yesterday, Cisco and ANET. I'll actually bring those up right now. I don't want to get too far off track, but John brought them up. Cisco and ANET, both getting a ton of good publicity right now in every magazine and newspaper you could think of and website based on the metaverse. Their technology is moving to the top of the chain based on the metaverse conversation. So 2 more stocks to actually pay attention to right now. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to give you a heads up. We get a lot of questions about our training and whatnot. A lot of you know on this call that I had a trading firm in New York City, and we had 300 people trading my capital. And there was, of course, a training program that I had that I walked everybody through that was required training to trade my capital. For me to allocate money to you, you had to go through my training program. If you'd like to learn about that training program and see everything that's in the training program, click the link below in the description. We have a special opportunity if you want to purchase that class with lifetime access at an 80% discount, and you get a 3-day money-back guarantee if you want to. So we're spending a lot of time today talking about processes. If you want to find out what was in that training program where I taught my people at my firm in New York City, the link is in the description below the video. It'll take you to another YouTube video that's roughly 20 minutes. I walk you through from start to finish what's in that program. So if you want to learn more about the processes, definitely click that link below. But I want to work our way over into the energy stocks and give you a list of not only technology stocks today, but energy stocks. So APA, again, we're looking at stocks that have had a rally over the last week or so. You can see that a lot of these stocks have now broken this downtrend, which is basically a 2-month bearish order flow. So APA, BVN, again, getting up to a breakout level. So now you got to make that decision. And I want to come back on the screen. So a lot of these ideas that we're talking about right now, bullish echo means the stock is still strong, probably traveled too far from the optimal entry. Today, I'll be looking to day trade them and then look for the next pause after this push to initiate the swing trade. I want to be super clear on that, okay? So DVN, 5-day push to the upside, now hitting resistance. So this would be a bullish echo, looking to day trade it, looking for the next pause of 2 to 3 days, then looking for the next swing trade. But remember what I just said before about building your list of ideas coming off of this type of list. This is where this process comes from. So now we shifted out of healthcare stocks, which haven't been as strong the last couple of days, even though they were near the top of the list for probably 2 or 3 weeks. The variant news is starting to not affect the market in a bearish way. Healthcare stocks came down, technology and energy stocks floated up. So now we're adapting to what the market's making available. This is the process from one day to the next, literally every single day, of how to put yourself in the right ideas when the smart money is involved with them. That's really the easiest way to trade. We're not guessing. We're just saying, where are they spending money now? And we're like, hey, that's the energy store. That's the busy store. Let's hop right over to the energy store and see if there's anything interesting. So let's go over some more energy stocks. I want to make sure you have a bigger list of ideas. So DVN, let me actually give you the full screen. DVN, FANG, which we mentioned before, CHK, which is also at a breakout level right now. Again, we're seeing, I just want to give you the visual that they're up 5 days in a row now. They're breaking this move to the downside. So right now we're looking at maybe one more day, looking for a pause after that one more day, and then we're looking for the next move. So CHK, EOG, CPE. And just to give you an idea of what these looked like yesterday and why they popped into our list, I mean, look at that. Does that get any cleaner from a day trading perspective? All right, so CPE. I also want to point out this is something that we've been spending a lot of time on as well, working the charts. You've heard me talk about this, and this was the 2-week period where once this downtrend bearish order flow was broken, we simply waited for it to get out of this box, which we call the right price, and we had a really good, clean 2-week trade. But we haven't really had anything to do since then. We hit up to this resistance level, basically stalled and haven't had anything to do. Looks like we're perking up a little bit again. And the reason I keep bringing this up, and this is kind of like a clue, that when this industry group, when this sector specifically is in play, you can get a really good 2 or 3 weeks out of them before they kind of peter out, and then you have to keep with the rotation. So I'm not telling anybody what to trade. I'm telling you that when these stocks are in play, I love to trade them. They're relatively easy to read. So I'm going to keep going. We'll go to some more energy stocks to start to put into your list using the process that I just showed you today, as well as some technology stocks for potential day trades, bullish echoes, and then look for that next pause for the next move higher. So we're still sticking with the energy stocks. PXD, you can also see this one actually broke the downtrend as well. So you can see multiple weeks of bearish order flow, held this on the pullback, nice 5-day rally. COP, of course, and Exxon you need to mention as well. So that's the list of stocks other than also CVX, right? So now we're going to work our way up the list and take a look at some technology stocks. Technology is the next area that has been on fire, but we wanted to make sure we talked about energy stocks simply because they are a new opportunity to take advantage of today. So moving our way over into technology. Again, I want to keep pulling this up on the screen because I want you to be aware. Technology moving up the list, and technology dominating the list of stocks that meet the perfect order flow. So we're going to take a look at those stocks right now, give you some new ideas. AEHR. Okay, you can get a feel for how these stocks have now broken the downtrend and had some pretty strong moves. What else? Coin, technically a technology stock. Now, the one thing about Coin, it's hitting the resistance level right now from this bearish order flow, and you can see that pretty cleanly right here. Coin's not really going to move that much unless this guy starts to pick up the bid a little bit, which is Bitcoin. So you can actually see now Bitcoin had bearish order flow after this double top resistance, and now we have this box. It's basically between here and here. So only one of two things are going to happen. Bitcoin's going to break down, break through this level, and validate this bearish order flow, or this potential change of trend will get back above this 50, let's say 52,375 level and start a new move to the upside. So this process of putting this box together and not having an opinion and simply letting price tell us when it's okay to get involved, Bitcoin is now stuck in a box. And as much as I like Coin on the technology side, I'm waiting to see what Bitcoin does before I start to jump in here and a little bit more with a little bit more conviction. So some other stocks on the technology side that are reversing right now. APPS also, you can see, broke down. And this is actually probably a pretty good one to get a visual of to walk you through. So there's the bearish order flow. Here is where we broke it. So I'm actually just going to bring this over here. That's where we broke it. Over here is the previous move to that. So once APPS broke this bearish order flow, then you draw that part of the box. You draw that part of the box. Now, during this 2-week period, there's nothing to do. Technology stocks are lighting up on fire. APPS has now broke out. But here's the thing. Remember what we started talking about today about the optimal entry. It's absolutely a change of trend back to the upside now, but it's also 5 days in a row to the upside. So now we have to determine, is this the optimal entry in APPS? I'm okay with putting on a small piece here, expecting a pause in exchange for the next move higher. So remember, now we're taking it a step further from the rotation to the sectors, to the industry group, to the stocks, and now how we allocate shares based on the most recent order flow and tape reading, okay? So APPS, obviously, we talked about Apple. We're going to get into some other ideas. Apple, now we talked about shifting over into profit maximizer. Micron, which has been very strong recently, after earnings, paused, bullish move, paused, looking for a breakout here again today. Microsoft actually had a pretty decent move the last 5 days, and now it's into a level where sellers kept coming in. So now I'm not looking at Microsoft until we get above and stay above 344. So again, Microsoft, what is the trade in Microsoft today? For me right now, Microsoft, it's a bullish echo where 5 days of buying into resistance, I'd be a little bit more inclined to be day trading that stock, looking for a pause. If you came into my office and said, I really want to start building a position in Microsoft because I think it's going to follow through to all-time highs, I'd be like, okay, it's rallied for 5 days into resistance right in front of all-time highs. This is the last place that sellers kept coming in. So what I suggest, if we're going to talk about building a longer-term trade in Microsoft, is put on 1/3 of your intended position size, anticipating it's going to fluctuate around this area over the next 2 to 4 days. And then if it takes off again, we'll look to build that position. Again, one of the biggest challenges that I see traders have is they get too big on their initial entry instead of reading the tape and determining what is the right position size at that moment. Okay, these are all, watch this video again. These are all clues to putting the pieces together to have a lot less stress in your trading. Okay. All right. So we want to get into some more, obviously Microsoft in that list as well. NVIDIA actually woke up again yesterday too. And again, you can see that we're working the charts. And if we bring in some of the most common moving averages, the 50-period moving average, we got down here, held support, broke this move, and now we're kind of back in what we might call bullish territory in NVIDIA and up $4.50 now. The one other thing that I want to talk about, if you remember on last week, we mentioned Tesla and we did a whole video on this bullish engulfing candle. We actually had the 50-period moving average as our initial profit target. And now that we've actually exploded through that level, this is where we're expecting the maximum profit potential. But now because the stock has gone basically 4 days in a row pretty heavily with the market, and you can see it's actually up even more into this level up here. I'm going to be scaling out if we get up to this level because we got up here and failed, got up here and failed, got up here and failed. As this stock continues to rally, I'm going to be moving up my profit maximizer instead of looking to build on that position. So naturally, if we're going to be looking at Tesla, we need to take a look at any other electric vehicle stocks and see if there's any other kind of play there as well. One big one that I want to point out, XPEV versus Lucid. We're going to finish up on that right now. XPEV has been, for me, the easier of this group to trade. So what I'm monitoring now in XPEV is, can we stay and get above the 50-period moving average? That, to me, is the line in the sand. When I do most of my scans at the end of the day, I'm generally only looking at stocks that are above the 50-period moving average. So I'm filtering out everything else from top to bottom, but that's the minimum criteria. So what I'm watching for in XPEV, can it get back above the 50-period moving average? So I set an alert at 47. On the other side of things is Lucid, which has had some bad news. And yesterday, this $36 level got kissed, and they squeezed the shorts yesterday in a big way where it broke down, took out that level. Early short sellers got it handed to them yesterday, but I still am looking at that 36 level. So a short sale on this, looking at 24 to 22 as the level if it does break down. If it rallies, I'm not doing anything until it closes back above the 50-period moving average. So we just mapped out two different scenarios, one in Tesla and how we're working the profit maximizer as it moves higher. So we're locking in gains on that bullish engulfing candle we called out last week. And we're looking at Lucid to see, does it hold that $36 level? If it breaks down, we have roughly $10 to $12 of short sale profit potential on the downside. Probably get a little bit extra move if Tesla finally tops out and rolls over. But if it takes off, I'm not looking. I have an alert set above 42 before I even start to look to buy Lucid. XPEV, I also have an alert set that if it can get back above the 50-period moving average, then I'll start to look for entries. So one thing I want to keep pointing out here, and I really want to drill this home in a big way, everything that we're talking about today, I'm not predicting anything. I'm saying if this happens, then I plan to do this. If this happens, then I plan to do this. I hope that you start to develop habits like that where your trading becomes systematic as opposed to emotional, which a lot of people do, which is why you're holding those losses longer than you know you should, simply because you have a big ego and you're trading to be right and you have fear of missing out. Start to systematize everything like we talk about here, and you'll find that your trading has a lot less stress. So to recap everything, some of the technology stocks that we're looking at today, just a question of how far are we from the optimal entry? Are we moving up our profit maximizer, or are we looking to day trade new stocks looking for one more day? Energy stocks, we took a look at a big list. We're looking at follow through over the next couple of days. If we get follow through, there'll be short-term trades. So we're looking for a push, a pause. We're looking to just capture that move over the next couple of days. Now, here's the thing, so we don't get misquoted. If a lot of these energy stocks that we talked about today open up higher and start to see selling right away, that's not what we're looking for. So if they open higher and hold the bid, then we will get long. If they open higher and do not hold the bid and start trading lower, we wait for the next optimal entry. So got to put those pieces together. We also gave some ideas in the electric vehicle stocks today as well. So I'm just going to put this up on the screen right now. I just want you to take a snapshot of it so you have an idea of stocks that meet the perfect criteria. Then do a little bit of research. Go in there and see which of those stocks you can put into your watch list and pay attention to them. All right, so I'm going to put this on the screen one more time. Take a snapshot of that. That's some of the ideas that we're taking a look at today. There you go, Kelly. And what we're going to do is we're going to call it a meeting. I have to actually head over and get ready for our bootcamp game plan call. But if you have any questions about the order flow masterclass, it's a home study course that I taught everybody when I had my prop trading firm. Click down below the video into the description. And if you have any questions, contact our support staff. They'll be more than happy to give you any answers that you might have about it. So if you found this stuff valuable, everybody, please do me a favor, smash that like button and make sure you hit the update, the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And have an awesome day today. It's going to be super interesting to see whether or not we hold the bid at all-time highs. Thanks so much, everybody. I'll speak to you soon.